are listening to the Retina UK National Peer Support Group Winter Meeting, recorded Thursday, the 11th of January 2024.
So what I'd like to say is just a massive thank you to Lucy for agreeing to come along and share her wisdom with us this evening. I'm not gonna say any more because I want to hand over to the expert, and who, sort of someone who's got something far more interesting to say than I have. So Lucy, can I hand over to you?
Yeah, you can. Hi. Hope you're all having a good evening, and quite jealous of the person in Antigua. Yeah, that's jealousy's got going on there. I always find it interesting when I do talks for other visually impaired groups, what to do, what to say. All our experience with being visually impaired is different. That's the one thing I've learned. And I have so many friends with RP, and my sailing career has been full of friends with RP, and watch them deteriorate, and see us adapt our friendships. And so RP is very close to my heart. So in some ways, I was really lucky, or see it as very lucky. I was born with photophobia and nystagmus, and because of my age, there wasn't all this Zoom, there wasn't all the information, there wasn't all the research and anything like that. So it was just get on, suck it and see it, go to the hospital, be stitched up. It was the scenario. My dad was fantastic. My dad would make me a ruler so I could go to mainstream school. My mum would come in and help. My friends would support. No one got a new car in the village till I decided that perhaps it wasn't right. I rode a bike because I'd scratched all their cars. And I just learned. Life was just full of learning experiences alongside many trips to the hospital. But the one big major struggle I had was because my brain's so active with the nystagmus and my eyes are shaking. And I suppose as I grew up, sort of age 7, 8, 9 and 10, they were the years where I started to learn that I was slightly different. I'd done lots of things repetitively through memory that I hadn't even realised were occurring in life, like walking down the back road and turning around and waving to my mum when I went to school, because that's what everyone else did. Didn't have a clue if mum was standing there. But mum and dad were brilliant and got me into sport at a very young age. So I swam. Loved swimming, loved being part of the club. It was a learning thing for them. I couldn't lead a lane, so never got that front spot. Relays, they had to learn different ways because I couldn't see the person touch the wall. And it's just been amazing how sport has been a massive part of my life, and how sport has grown for visually impaired people. There's more and more sports being adapted for us to play. Tennis. God, when I was at school, they made me the ball girl. Couldn't even find the frigging ball. I think that was just like a made up thing for me just to run around for half an hour. But now we've got adaptive tennis. But there's so many sports that don't get adapted, and sailing's one of those. So swimming, I did that for a long time, very successfully, then got too old. And I always loved sailing. And where we live in Southend, my dad had a boat that we bought together off our neighbour. And it was the first time that dad was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to teach you. It was the first time in my life at the age of 16 where it was one thing that dad couldn't go home and make out of wood, couldn't read to me, and couldn't lay my hand on it. It was one thing that just blew his mind, but it wasn't going to stop him. And he was sat in his lorry, and he was listening to Radio 4. And I don't know whether any of you are sailors on here. Are there any sailors on here, quickly? Apart from the person sat in Antigua on a boat.
No. I used to go sailing with my son in London docks through Sailability.
Yeah, through Sailability dock clubs. Yeah, oh, brilliant. So It was sailability that, a seamanship foundation when I was young, and then to be sailability. We went along for the first weekend, and they didn't really have youngsters, and I didn't think I was that young at sort of 16, 17. And it was the first time my eyes got opened up to the world of like multiple disabilities. I think in swimming, there was quite a shelter. I'd sort of, I think because of our categories, mainly with sort of dwarfs and with Down syndrome. So I hadn't really had my whole eyes opened. And it was an amazing experience to be with people with, spinal breaks, brain injuries. It was just a brilliant feeling to actually learn, my disability isn't that bad. And from then, it was like they grabbed me with both arms and just chucked me in a boat to do a competition about 3 weeks later. And my life totally changed. It went from being the shy girl that sort of had lots of friends that did lots of things for her, and mum and dad that would push her out the door to do things with her friends, to having adventures through sailing, going around the world. And sailing's a sport like no other. Well, I put it close to Speed of Sound. If you haven't been with Speed of Sound, oh my God, I highly recommend that. Can't speak highly enough of those guys and that experience. So sailing to me is, I never could drive, and I appreciate some of the guys, you guys with RP, like my best friend, he had his driving license and lost it at the age of 36. So he's had that sensation of driving and that sensation of freedom. But what sailing gave to me at that young age, and at that time, it rescued me. It gave me that sense of freedom when all my friends were getting their driving licenses and everything like that. Which, speed aside, I am going to mention again, when I did the track day with them, going at 100 miles an hour, and then had to be interviewed afterwards, and it's the first time I've been able to say nothing, because I just was totally exhilarated, absolutely exhilarated. But with sailing, it's an amazing sport. There's no adaptions, and that's the best thing about it. You can go sailing with your friends. You can go sailing to a local sailing club. All you need is that good bit of communication and that trust in that person and their trust back in you. When I talk about sailing, it's the senses. So we might have one weak sense, but all our other senses, they do talk about we've got heightened super hearing. It's just that we use our hearing properly, But with sailing, our hearing comes into it. We listen to the crack of the sails as we tack through the wind. We feel the boat underneath our bottom. We communicate to each other what we're feeling to make that boat go fast. And it's the amazing bit of teamwork. So you can, with sailing, like I was when I was young, you can start by just a little introductory. And then if you want, like me, through our charity Blind Sailing, we enable people to go up to world championship level, represent their country. And that's where it gets fascinating. It gets absolutely fascinating. So when I say no adaptions were made, we fleet raced for a long time. So fleet racing is, say, up to 15 boats on a racetrack, just like a running track. You go round a circuit, winner, first, second, third, blah, blah, blah. And you're in a team of 4. So you have 2 sighted on board and 2 visually impaired. So it's easy because you have a bit of sighted support when things go wrong. You all act as a team and you make decisions. Then the Italians had a fantastic idea, and this is where my life got interesting. So I had a fantastic time going around the world as a team with sighted guys. Then they decided that they were going to take the sighted guys away, and we would race by ourselves with no sight on board. And they did match racing. So it's 2 boats race against each other. It's a game of chess, who can score the points or penalties against the other, or get round the course the fastest. So they added sound onto our boat, sound onto the racetracks. The marks we had to go around are all done by acoustic sound. So I'd had a fantastic career in sailing, fantastic career in swimming, and this was my first challenge in life. They took away that network and that support and put them in a rib way away from me. I had to get my boat, my team of other visually impaired person round that racetrack and try and win. you know, they're not, their lives were in my hand, but I suppose the boom is quite hard and heavy, you know. So on sailing days, we get light wind days. We get heavy wind days. Heavy wind days, things move a lot faster, but a lot more precise. Light wind days, they move a lot slower, and it's a lot harder for someone visually impaired because that sense of feeling the breeze, it's a lot slower and steadier. Whereas when it's blowing hard and catching your face, the boat hills hard, and you've got all the sensation. So I was going to try and play a video for you guys. I put a little presentation up, but I'm not going to go through most of it. But I'm going to try and play the presentation through my phone because I think this is fascinating for anyone who wants to get in support to sailing. I'll just try and play it.
You might ask.
So,
And the upwind or windward lock. As if those sounds were not enough, each racing boat also makes a sound, depending on which tack they're sailing on. Port tack and starboard tack. All the sounds come together as a symphony to guide the sailors around the course.
So my life sort of opened up to new challenges, you know. I had to think like a sighted person. I had to make those decisions on the racetrack. They'd been painting for me. I had to feel the boat. And it's been the most rewarding thing that I've ever had to do. You know, my friend Liam, he's got RP, he's got no sight in his left eye, and he's got 2% left in his right eye. And you know what? Together we make a team. That's the biggest thing that makes us together. So he's still got that little bit of distance sight, and as soon as he hears that sound, he can lock onto it. I haven't got that distance sight, but I use his calls and what he's saying to do all the race tactics and work as a team. So all the different sites that come together help us achieve what we're trying to do. And in sailing, I'll pop it on the screen for any of those that can see. That's the one thing I have learned about working with lots of RP, that when it's just on the start of deterioration, that they all my friends still love to be able to see what's on the screen. So I'm always happy to share, and those that can see. But on the screen, so in sailing, like any other sports, or if you're in any other sports, it's all categorized. So it starts off with B3, which is sort of like, I call this, there on the screen, there is like the percentages. So it's like less than 20 degrees. But this is where you've still got tunnel vision or peripheral vision. You know, you've still got your eye starting to deteriorate. So you've lost a percentage, decreasing down. B2 is like count fingers at a distance, or you're down to that visual fields of less than 5 degrees. B1 is like nothing at all. You can have a little bit of light perception, but it can only be a tiny bit of light perception. It can't be usable light perception. So we now race with no sighted people on board in this format. So 1B3, 1B2, and 1B1 get us around the racetrack. And it's amazing how the skills that we learn, the teamwork that we learn, have sort of like encouraged me in life. So now heading up Blind Sailing UK, or known as when we race GBR Blind Sailing, providing opportunities monthly for people to train, enabling them to go into clubs and educating all the clubs around the UK to take them in to the clubs so you can be part of a club. Just like if you went to a golf club, you know, you got your normal registration. For some people, it's more suitable to stay in a sailability club, the disabled arm of the RYA. But for most of us, when we're visually impaired, the 2 arms and 2 legs are still really active, and we're looking for that sport with adrenaline and, you know, getting out and being part of it. And that's been my life. I'm very much looking for the adrenaline. I'm looking for all the challenges in life. So it's been really good. The other thing it did for me sailing, the confidence it gave me to support others, and the confidence it gave myself. It enabled me to apply for good jobs. I had being able to work in risky situations, assess situations. Not just that, now through the charity, I provide our volunteers with opportunities. So I take youngsters from the age of 16 upwards. And we're really pleased with some of our youngsters, because through the work they've done with us, working with the blind and the visually impaired, Some of them have just got a job with the Met Police, using scenarios and be able to think at pace. Some of them have just got amazing jobs in the RAF. And what that turned into for us was we then got invited to one of their training camps for the weekend. So, you know, doors open up and you just never know where doors are going to open up. And sailing is a door that can open so many different things in life, so many different things like no other. I've been really lucky to meet lots of fantastic people. It's took me to all different countries, you know, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, you know, France. I probably pop over to France 3 or 4 times a year just to train with the French at the minute. Especially when we started to come out of lockdown, it was the best place to go to train. You know, we've had so many opportunities. Japan, it's just broadened my life. And you know, if there's anyone out there on this call that would love to try it, you know, I'm here to link people into their local sailability group or the local club, or if you've got a little bit of experience, then you can come and join one of our weekends. And you never know, you might be like me, that 16-year-old that didn't really have an aim in life, didn't really understand visual impairment, but found sailing and absolutely gripped it with both hands. And you know, now being able to represent my country, I think it's 8 times now, 9 times now represent my country, and absolutely love it. And yeah, is there any questions, or would you like to know deeper stuff about how sailing works, more about the charity? Hello.
Sorry, can you hear me? I'm
Yeah.
having really problems in joining. I've done all sorts of things. I've heard most of what you've talked about. Just to say, I used to sail many years ago. I'm in my 70s now, but I used to sail as a youngster. But I've had late onset Stargardt in my late 40s. I'm now 71, 72 this year. So I've had it for about 25 years, I guess, and it's degenerating. It's obviously deteriorating. And I'd really like to start from scratch again.
Yeah.
And I've been looking for a long time and found very little near me. So my interest is perhaps in being able to access somewhere where I could learn with other people in a similar situation to myself.
Yeah, no problems. If you hopefully that you can get my email address, you know, they'll share my email address after this session.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can drop me your location where you are,
Mm-hmm.
then I can look for a suitable place for you to go and join and sailing, because I would recommend for someone like you that weekly community, or every other week. And there's lots of different things out there now. So there's like women that sails, there's the sailability group, there's loads of different things like that are about. And I can certainly investigate and find somewhere for you.
That would be lovely. That would be
as
great.
long as you're not at the top of the hill, you know, in like somewhere that hasn't got any water nearby. That might be a challenge, but yeah.
Well, I'm in London.
Oh no, that's easy. That's easy. That's an easy one, really easy one.
But yeah,
yeah, no, brilliant. They'll share my email address and just let me know whereabouts in London, and then I can send you the London places. But that London's an easy one.
But still, as you say, if I can get your email address from Retinal UK or the Kent Association for the Blind, that would be really useful.
Absolutely, we'll share that out. I'll send some information out after the meeting. It might take a day or so, if that's okay, because we're a bit short-staffed at the moment. We've got people dropping like flies at the office. So yeah, if you could just bear with me, and I'll send out all the details. And yeah, absolutely, then you can get in touch with Lucy, and she can share some information. Can I just ask, what's your name?
My name's Lola Lee
Lola.
Walsh.
Lovely.
I've been sort of in and out. You've probably seen me pop in and pop out every so often because
yeah,
I'm rubbish. rubbish like most of us at seeing. So it's like I'm having to use all sorts of bits of equipment to be able to see what's going on, even though I've got voice over stuff and what have you. It takes forever.
Course. Yeah, no problem. And we are recording it, Lola. So
yes,
we will send out the recording as well. So if there is any of the session that, any of Lucy's talk that you've missed, then you'll be able to watch it again at your leisure. So that's not a problem at all.
Lovely. Thanks.
Brilliant.
I've just put my email and telephone number in the chat. So anyway,
smashing. So that's there if anybody can access that.
Yeah. Would anyone like to know anything more? Like, there's so much I can tell you.
Can I ask a question? David calling.
Hi, David.
Is it expensive?
So that's an interesting question. Is it expensive? So the advantage of sailing is they've now set up clubs and sailability groups that enable you to get on the water, and they do a subsidised membership. So the sailability group, some sailability groups are as cheap as like £5 a session. So that's cheaper than a swimming session at local pool. Whereas if you want to then get into the big sailing clubs, some of them are sort of like a yearly membership, and then you just pay to do the club boats. The sailing I run is blind sailing, so ours is a little bit more advanced. So you're coached by Olympic coaches, and you have 2-to-1 coaching. So our costs raise weekend training. So you're talking 2 full days with coaching, ranges between £80 to £150, but that includes food as well. I mean, that's cheap. That's cheap compared to, so that's all your boat, all your rib, and all your training. So there's 2 different levels. You can start off at the club level with sailability, and then if you want to come to the racing level, then there's a little bit of extra cost because you're up in the terms of coaching.
When you've got coaches at that level, doesn't sound bad actually.
No. It's very. That's been the lucky part of my journey. So my coaches, I mean, there's Ben Amesley, Ian Williams, all of those sort of people have been part of us being able to develop to where we get to. So Ian Williams has just won won the match racing circuit. And he's absolutely brilliant. He comes back to the UK and he'll do 2 to 3 weekends with us. We've now just come second in the world in the juniors match racing, and the juniors, he's 19, and his dad and him rung me the other day and said, "Oh, we're going to come along next weekend and help coach you." And I was like, "Oh, brilliant!" So word gets around and the interest creeps up from some very, very high profile people. So it's lovely.
Brilliant. Absolutely. Rob, did you have a question? Were you going to ask?
Yes, I was going to say it's not sailing related actually. It's you mentioned about the speed of sight, the car racing.
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, we're thinking of doing it to raise money for guide dogs, and we've got some money to pay for going. We're going to Abingdon Airfield is where we're thinking of going, but I was just wondering where that place is that you mentioned. Do you know where it is?
We were they do it at various locations. The Speed of Sight does do it at various locations, so they're very much your date and where you are. And ours was just in Kent where we did it, but I know they haven't been back there just lately. But oh my god, again, like sailing is exhilarating, right? When the boat's going fast and you're racing against other people. Oh, but driving a car when you've never... I can drive a car. Dad would take me down a dirt track, but driving a car at speed on a racetrack, oh my god, yeah, it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Highly recommend.
Yeah. So they've got a website. I could look it up on a website.
Yeah, Speed of Sight. Yeah, Speed of Sight, and they got a Facebook page. Yes. Yeah.
Great. Thanks very much.
Yeah.
So I've spoken to a couple of people who, not necessarily through Speed of Sight, but have done the driving experiences, and they've absolutely loved it. It's
It's funny because when I do my talks, like I say that sailing is freedom on the water, because it truly is. I've never had that. I always felt when I was growing up that, you know, freedom wasn't always there. You know, you always need that help to find the door. You always need a little bit of extra help to create that journey and make it a memory. And you can't, when you walk into a pub, you can't see your friends where they're sitting. And it's just always been those little barriers as I was growing up as a teenager that I sort of had to overcome, and, you know, not sort of get self-conscious about. And I think with sailing and some of the other sports I've done, it just allowed my confidence to grow, and, you know, taught me how to think in a slightly different way, how to have the confidence to talk to people and communicate and ask for help, and actually asking for help and working as a team is okay, you know, because everybody's different and everybody needs help at certain stage. So yeah, it's been although it was a journey that started off a bit bumpy, it's really worked out.
It's really interesting. I think sport is one of those great levelers, isn't it? It definitely builds confidence and shows resilience, and like you said, you know, sort of leads on to lots of opportunities, because you know, sort of whether it's employment, you know, whatever it is that you're doing in life, it just teaches you such amazing skills that you can transfer to so many things. So
yeah, well, I set myself a challenge. So I don't know whether anyone's read my bio. So I've got six world titles, 7 world titles for sailing, and I got multiple records for swimming. And then I felt like sailing was done a little bit, and I needed a new challenge. So I took up CrossFit. I don't know whether anyone else does CrossFit. I've tried it. And it's the biggest move in the UK in terms of sport and competition. So it's the biggest all-inclusive competition that I've seen put on in the UK. You all compete doing the same workout, just with slight adaptations depending on your disability, but you're going head to head with each other in your own realms. When it gets to world level in CrossFit, you compete against other visually impaired people, so you get slightly into your category, and that's quite good, because that pays quite a good wage when you get to a certain level. And I've been lucky to stay #1 in the UK for the last 3 years, come second in the world twice at it. So that's now opening up even more doors on top of the sailing. So if you're looking for a gym that's very inclusive and friendly and adaptive, then look at your local CrossFit box, and that's another place that I recommend. Takes people in and welcomes all sorts of people.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I definitely know some people who'd be interested to hear about that, so I'll make a note and get that out in the email as well. That's great. Fascinating. So anybody tempted here in Lucy to actually have a go at sailing, other than Lola, obviously, who's gonna go back to it?
Yeah.
Could you tell me what level of competence you need in swimming before you go sailing? I can swim a bit, but I couldn't swim more than, say, a length of the pool.
So this is the interesting thing, and it scared me when I took over the charity. So I took over the charity, and I was getting all the paper, understanding all the paper at the risk assessments and holding the weekends, and I quickly learned that pretty much all of the instructors could just about kick their legs. And I was like, oh, how does this work? You know, because like you, I thought, oh, they've got to be able to swim a little bit. But because they've got buoyancy aids on, so in sailing, we all have buoyancy aids on. There's some rules sometimes where a helmet has to be worn, you know, different bits like that, safety. As long as you're water confident, so you're not a water panicker, and you can sort of like kick your legs up and do a few strokes to swim back to the boat with a buoyancy aid on, that's fine. You're not, you know, if you end up swimming lengths, you've done something wrong. You know, you need to probably pull 1 or 2 strokes and climb back in if you start in dinghies. But most of the time, I recommend for visually impaired people, unless they've got a lot of steel left, is to start off in a keel boat. A keel boat's something that has a fixed weighted keel, so it won't tip over. Whereas the dinghies that we do train in, they will tip over and you can get you can get wet, you know, you rewrite and get back in, all perfectly safe. But I'm always quite clear to someone, if you've lost quite a bit of sight and it's something you've not tried before, then look for something that's a kill boat that you go out in, rather than dumping yourself in the deep end at a dinghy.
Okay, so you never know, we might just be able to tempt Rob. We'll hear from him at the next meeting that he's been at.
Sailing.
He's been sailing.
I do know people who go to the Southampton Club, and they thoroughly enjoy it. But
do you know Kate Healy?
No, I know Steve Boswell's the guy I know who goes to the Southampton Club.
I've heard of that name. Yeah. No, I highly, you know, if you're thinking about it, give it a go. You know, I always say to people, if you thought about it, just jump on and do it. Jump on and do it.
Yeah.
Life's
Not
too
this
short.
time of year, maybe. Not.
Maybe in the spring.
We've got training next weekend, and I was just booking the accommodation, and we normally stay at the sailing club, and I was like, oh, I'm just going to check. There's a really cheap hotel, like I'm talking cheap hotel, down the road, and I whizzed on, and they had a deal, 2 nights for 40 quid, including breakfast. And I was like,
wow.
I know it's cheap. I know, yeah. I know it's a cheap hotel, but I was like, it's got proper radiators and it's got a bathroom. Whereas when we stay at the sailing club, it's all communal. Right. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go the 40 quid. I know it's not that good, but I've got a shower and I've got a radiator that turns on. So
that sounds like a good for this time of year, definitely.
Yeah. But January sailing, you do have to have all the kit and all the gear. But again, you know, someone asked me a question about costs earlier and what does it start. I do an online start sailing course for people that are interested. It's just two nights online, and it just gives like the basics. And one of the things I do answer there is kit. People always think, oh, I've got to go out and buy all the kit. You just need a pair of trainers that's got a bit of grip left that you don't mind getting wet, some waterproof, some warm clothing, just not heavy jeans or heavy fleeces, and a woolly hat. And you're good to go. You know, you're good to go. That's how you can start. And then the amazing thing about eBay now is there's so much stuff on eBay that people have either grown out of, not worn enough, or selling on. They've got the next bit. That you can pick up different bits on there. There's so many different advantages now we have for getting available stuff. I'm very lucky. I'm sponsored by Rooster, so I get my kit. So I've always been very lucky. And you know, if I slip off me crown of titles, I might lose my sponsor and have to pay for a few things now and again. But yeah, I get lucky.
You've earned it, though. You've earned that. You've earned the luck, Lucy. To be.
Yeah. No, definitely.
So what about, so in terms of sailing, I know a few people in the community, some of our volunteers and some of the, you know, sort of friends that they're not sort of sailing competitively, but they love to go on the sailing holidays, the activity holidays, where they can get involved. They normally go somewhere really nice and warm. Just thinking about this cold weather again. I'm not sure they've been as far as Antigua though, David. More around the Greek islands or over to the Med somewhere.
I was just saying to Judith earlier, I don't fancy sailing at Southampton in this weather, but maybe the Greek islands might just do the job.
Yeah, no, there's lots of other opportunities. We've got some on our website as well. So there's something called Blind Week, which I also highly recommend. Blind Week, and that's in the UK. So it flips. 1 year it's in Falmouth, 1 year it's down coast in Southampton. Flotillas are boats where people donate their boats and their time for the week, and you live on board Saturday to Saturday, touring around the coast, learning. And the really nice thing about that is you learn if you want to learn, but if you just want to sit on board as a passenger, as long as you're not too rude and you do a little bit of help, because it is like teamwork on a boat, that's a really good way to start. That's always in June or July, so you can apply for that. I'll share that information back out to you, so that comes out to you. That's really good. If you live on the East Coast, there's the East Anglia Sailing Trust. Highly recommend those guys. They were part of my life when I was they're still part of my life. But They were part of my life when I was young. They run cruises over to Holland and places like that. They're very popular. Their year's calendar gets booked up really, really quickly. But they also run weekly stuff. But there are yacht opportunities. They're the two that I'm endorsed to recommend. Those two ones.
That's a really nice way to, sort of starting off in the sunshine and the warm waters to get someone hooked, I think. Get people really encouraged to come back and want to carry on.
Well, we actually signed up four new people in October last year in the cold, and they're coming back this January. So they'd done a little bit. They'd had a taster session at a sailability group, and then they came to us in October, so it was pretty cold. And we had our international championships in November. Because they were only beginners, they weren't able to compete, but they came along. The amazing commitment they showed, they came along, and they were just part of the weekend. They were just learning. They went out on the committee boats, and they're coming back this January because they're desperate to either represent their country this year or next year. So it's interesting. Some people like that and just see, I don't know, a bit of the racing. They're in their 20s, 23, and I think 30. But I attracted them in the cold, and I didn't think I would. I gotta be honest.
That's commitment. That's really good.
Yeah.
You're obviously really really good at sort of what you do and that encouragement and it sounds really.
It's not me. It's not me. I have although I've got the MBE and I know why I got the MBE, but the team behind me. I've had volunteers. Some people volunteer for us for 28 years, like month in, month out. Their sons now are involved. Their daughters are now involved. And it's their patience and kindness. And do you know what? The biggest thing that they gave me in life was honesty. There was never a moment in my life where they said to me, "Oh yeah, I did that really well." They was always honest. They were like, "No, Luce, if you want this boat to move properly, you've actually got to pull that piece of rope. You've really got, or you've actually got to move your body weight, And I kind of like that. There was never that treatment, which I teach a lot now. We run a martial arts company, and I have 210 kids that I teach a week. I'm just off to teach some teenagers in a minute. And I run autistic and disabled classes on a Wednesday. Predominantly, I'm 90% autism at the minute and ADHD. And I'm getting more and more popular because I'm so honest with them. And that's how I was taught, nice, but honest. Nice, but honest. It's the volunteers behind me that help, and the community of the VIs coming together and supporting each other. Like some of the guys, I've got 2 new guys with RP. I tried to get them to join the call this afternoon. Actually, I was just a bit too late. And they've never took a train journey because of their sight. And I was like, I'll help you. And then my other friend's going to meet the other guy and just show him how assistance works, because they've never had to do that in life, but we've sort of, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. And, I think that sort of community and in the sailing community really helps. And I know it's in other charities, and it helps the charities grow and the people grow around it.
Definitely. Yeah, it is all about coming together and supporting each other and sharing hints and tips and learning from each other, isn't it? It's what a community is about, and it's certainly why we like to be able to offer the chance to get together, whether it's face to face or because we're all flung around the country, sort of online as sort of opened up things there. And it's just important to be able to connect with other people that genuinely understand. The good, bad, the funny moments, the tragic moments.
And have a place you can ask for help as well, and people that understand. I think that's I think that goes a long way, goes a long way. Different communities.
Brilliant.
With the Blind Sailing Week, sorry, just a quick one. With the Blind Sailing Week, I think it is from Southampton this year. Are there any short of timescales, or do you go for the whole week? I'm just thinking.
I've never really known, because what you might be able to negotiate, so I'm not going to say no on behalf of them.
No.
So it depends on their passage, because they might be at anchor and they might not be able to get you ashore. The passage plan can change depending on the weather. They might, I ran flotillas for that week for several years, and I had a plan B, and I had a plan C. Just depended on the weather, so I could never guarantee that, all of my I have all my places booked, but I could never guarantee that actually it was going to come off.
Right.
But I'll make sure you've got that email. I'll forward that email, because that can be shared, and they're happy to take new people, really happy to take new people.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, Lucy, if you can let me, we'll sort of keep in touch after the call. Yeah. I'll ping an email over to you. If you can let me have all of this information, so I can pass it on to everyone. And so you've got all the information, all the links and things like that. We'll make sure that we get that out to you in the next where are we? Well, it's Friday tomorrow, isn't it? It might be early next week.
Yeah.
I don't want to promise something I can't deliver, so but bear with me. But thank you so very much, Lucy, for your time. And I know you've got to go off and teach, as you said. You've got a load of teens waiting for you, haven't you?
Yeah, so, my partner's teaching them at the minute. He said, you will be back. I think I thought, when I put it in my calendar, I thought it was Friday evening when I put it in, because we finish at 7. He doesn't mind what I do, and he loves me being part of everything and stuff like that. But he ran an advertising campaign, and it went a bit viral. So every day this week we've had 12 new people every night join, and it's been a stressful week, but as I said to him, it's all our pension building up, all our pension.
Yeah, absolutely. And
brilliant. So any questions, anyone? My number's out there. I put my email address, and if there's other people that have got more questions, then do give me a shout, drop me a message, drop me a WhatsApp or anything like that, get in touch. And hopefully I've been interesting. Hopefully I get more nervous talking to a visually impaired group than I do able-bodied group, because I always feel like your stories might be more, you've all got stories to tell, so make sure you're telling your story too.
Thank you. It's lovely. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thank you. Have a good evening all, and stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much. Take care.
Bye.
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 Thank you very much.
So guys, has anybody got any stories of your own that you want to share? Is there anything that anyone wants to chat about before we finish tonight?
Yes, it's Joan here. Can you hear me?
We can, yes, Joan.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, I really appreciated Lucy's talk this evening, and it brought back memories of when I went, when I was in Sicily with my young family at the time, and I used to steer the speedboat that we had. It was only a little thing, but I taught my children how to do water skiing with my husband, and he was fully sighted and everything. So it was great fun, because there were no traffic lights in the sea. Very few boats around. So with my limited vision, I was able to drive fast with this. Do you say drive? No, sorry, sail fast on the speedboat, and it was such great fun. And it just brought back those memories. I'm in my 70s now, so it was just great. And although we talked about sailing, although I had to put it into context of thinking about the speedboat, because it is actually sailing as well, but totally different speed, definitely. But I enjoyed being in the water, and I think that's the most important thing. And I know somebody raised the point about knowing to swim. Well, fortunately, I taught my children how to dive and swim, but you always wear life jackets when you're on your speedboat anyway. So